Chapter 17. Two Clubs. Meg reached for the seatbelt and she sighed with relief when Kain allowed himself to be strapped down. Kain cried non-stop for the remainder of the car ride, and after 20 minutes that felt like an eternity, Bella arrived to the parking lot of her Plan 8. "If you want a son so much, just get pregnant again," said Kain, finally speaking to his mother. "I would if I could, Kain, I would if I could," hissed Bella, getting out of the car in a huff. Bella had tried to get pregnant to force her last boyfriend to marry her, and when she went to the doctor, she found out that she had a T-shaped uterus. She was lucky to have gotten pregnant in the first time. Bella left the car and she opened the passenger door, and Kain had tired himself out with his futile struggle. Bella picked up her son and she sighed with relief since the boy was no longer struggling. And Kain's action eyes had completely lost their luster, and his mother had won, and it was pointless to continue struggling against her. Kain was snapped back to the present by Hannah pulling at his arm, and the girl was tired of walking, and she wanted her uncle to carry her. Kain kissed his niece on the cheek, and Stacy had been carrying the other daughter, Anna, for 15 minutes. And despite looking identical, Anna was the weaker twin, and she would get tired far more easily. "Have we gotten enough candy?" asked Kain. "I can walk for another block," said Oswald. Anna looked at her candy bag, and after weighing it, she said, "Let's continue." "Mommy's tired, Anna, and if you want more candy, I can just buy it for you," said Stacy, trying to bribe her daughter. "That would defeat the entire purpose of going trick-or-treating," insisted Oswald. "I can keep an eye on the kids for you, Auntie," offered Kain. "Santiago, make yourself useful and walk Stacy back home." Stacy gave a fake smile before giving her nephew her second daughter, and she felt that her nephew was using her as an excuse to get rid of Santiago. After meditating the issue, Stacy came to the conclusion that Kain genuinely wanted to help shoulder her burden, and she walked back to Kain's house with Santiago serving as an escort. Even if it was a safe neighborhood, Halloween night tended to be dangerous for solitary women. The party continued on their way, and Kain was barely aware of the weight of the two girls, and he grew tense when he heard the sound of a gunfire, and he sighed with relief when he saw some brass playing with firecrackers. Anna asked, "Do you want to continue with our secret game?" "And where did we leave off?" asked Kain. "We were exploring Europa," said Hannah. "No, I think we were visiting Triton," corrected her sister. "And what are you playing?" asked Ariel, butting in. "Shh, it's a secret," protested Anna. "You don't know the game, so you can't play," whined Anna. "Carl, explain." "They are playing make-believe. What originally started as a simple tea party game evolved into an epic sci-fi adventure." "Carl will tell them about it," protested Anna. "Oh, it's like Dungeons and Dragons," asked Oswald, "except without all the rules and pre-made characters. My sisters have an overactive imagination," explained Carl. "I join their space adventures sometimes, and last week we visited the world of Cinderella, and we gave a royal beating to her wicked stepmother." "Good riddance, I say," said Anna, punching an imaginary wicked stepmother. The four of them proceeded to abstract themselves in their not-so-secret imaginary game, and Oswald, who liked to play in Dungeons and Dragons, wanted to join in their games, and for now he limited himself to listening to their game. Ariel, feeling completely left out, came to stand beside Oswald to engage him in conversation. The only thing they had in common was that they didn't understand the stupid secret game. Eugenia smiled warmly, and it was a new side of Kain she had never seen, and it was cute in every sense of the word. And the trick-or-treat ended when night fell, and the fear of the creatures hiding in the darkness became stronger than the children's desire to get candy, and the party was greeted by a stressed Stacy, and she had been standing in front of Kain's porch while she waited for the girls to return. Kain placed the girls down in the middle of the living room, and the girls began to sort through their loot, and Kyle poured his bag into the mutual candy pool, and Ariel and Oswald joined them with their own bags to trade for candies that they actually liked. And in order to provide background noise, Kain looked through his DVD collection for a movie. The film had to be age-appropriate for the twins, who were the youngest children in the party. And Stacy reached into her purse and she brought out the movie Elf. When the movie started, Oswald commented, "And why are we watching a Christmas movie? It's Halloween." It is either Elf or Uptown Girls, warned Kain, showing the other age-appropriate movie. I guess we're watching a Christmas movie, said Oswald, laughing nervously. Once my sisters go to sleep, you can pick the next movie, offered Kyle. Kain brought refreshments, chips, and sodas, and Oswald opened his soda and the foam accidentally stained the carpet. He tried his best to clean the mess using the edge of his rose. Don't worry about it, Oswald, said Kain, bringing the paper towel to mop up the soda. And I have a vacuum specially designed to remove nasty stains. As long as you keep your little messes within the confines of the carpet, we won't have a problem. Okay, said Oswald, shrinking into himself. Kain added, it's fine, it's alright, don't worry about it, accidents happen. Anna came to his head and said, settle down, Ox. Uncle Kain doesn't bite. When he starts talking like a robot, it is because we are making him nervous, explained Hannah. So you're not angry, asked Oswald, lowering his cowl. Kain is not the type of man who gets angry, said Stacy as he stayed in a fan. The worst you will get out of him is a tantrum. I don't throw tantrums anymore, Auntie Stacy, said Kain, smiling shyly. Of course not, said Stacy, smiling. I can take over from here and go play with your friends. Kain went to the porch to see about his adult guests, and he had completely forgotten about them. And there was a knocking at the door, and at this hour it couldn't be good news. Kain cautiously opened the door, looked out the window, and he recognized Unla's car, and she was bringing over her twin niece and nephew. And Unla was dressed normal, and her nephew George was dressed like the ghost face, and Jennifer was dressed like a vampire. Did the party peak early? Asked Kain. You don't know the half of it, said Unla, rolling her eyes. The house caught fire, said George, pouting. Your house caught fire? Asked Oswald, surprised. Not my house, but I was in a burning building. The host was going for a vampire theme, and they went overboard with the candle, said George before coughing up a lung, and he removed his mask in order to use his inhaler. Stacy sat beside Unla in order to babysit the entire brood, and she frowned when she saw Jeremy sitting down on the couch to watch a movie. And since he was an unfamiliar adult, she didn't like that he was sitting near the children. Jeremy made eye contact with Stacy, and he narrowed his eyes almost as he could see into her very soul. And he went to the patio to hang out with the rest of the adults, and outside there was beer and loud music. Kain was dancing like an Egyptian with his girlfriend Eugenia, and the two were having a rematch against Bruno and Carina, and this time they were competing on who could dance for the longest time. And Jeremy got himself a soda, and he leaned back on the wicker love seat to watch the show. And sitting beside Jeremy was Balthazar, the other wallflower of the group, and now turned to look to see if the two gay men liked each other. Jeremy eyed Balthazar from the corner of his eye, and this was the special somebody that Siddhartha wanted Jeremy to meet. And they were all watching, looking, expecting for two of them to act like all the other men liked them. If Jeremy was like Siddhartha, he would ask Balthazar to dance in order to fit in. Alas, Jeremy was not afraid of loneliness. And as for Balthazar, he only had eyes for Malik. This was a bad idea, whispered Carina while dancing with Bruno. What was a bad idea? Asked Bruno. It was my idea to try to hook up Jeremy with Balthazar, said Carina, and both are shy introverts who like to wear women's dresses. Introverts rarely make the first move, reasoned Bruno, and Balthazar is upset with Malik, and I think Jeremy hasn't broken up with his boyfriend yet. I was under the impression that he was single, said Carina. Jeremy's boyfriend hasn't left the closet yet, explained Bruno. Ah, did Jeremy tell you that? Asked Carina, narrowing her eyes. Carina didn't like that Jeremy was opening communication channels with her man. Carina was naturally jealous of any woman that spoke to Bruno, and even if Jeremy was physically a man, Carina couldn't help but perceive him as a woman. Do you remember Ken's last camping trip? And I overheard Alexia flirting with Jeremy, said Bruno, and he told Alexia that he wasn't single, and his boyfriend is still in the closet. His closet boyfriend must be pretty rich, commented Carina, looking at Jeremy's bangles. There is no way that Jeremy can afford those gem-encrusted bangles on a dog walker's salary. If his boyfriend is rich and a closet case, he must be a Republican senator, joked Bruno. No, you don't think, said Carina, laughing. Instead of speculating, why don't you ask Jeremy about his secret boyfriend, suggested Bruno. I will go do that right now, said Carina, stomping her heels to interrogate Jeremy. Jeremy, Did your rich boyfriend buy you those bangles, and why couldn't he come to the party? My rich boyfriend is a married man. His wife is a stick in the mud, so he comes to me to do all the dirty deeds that his Puritan wife refuses to do, said Jeremy. Our relationship doesn't have a future, but when our schedules coincide, we make each other very happy. You still haven't taught us a name, insisted Carina. I gain nothing by indulging your curiosity, said Jeremy dryly. And what type of dirty deeds do you do together? Asked Santiago, who was sitting nearby. That's for me to know and for you to find out, Santiago, said Jeremy, caressing his diamond necklace. I don't like men, said Santiago, leaning closer to Jeremy. Me neither, but I'm willing to make an exception just for you, said Jeremy, passing his index finger over his own lips. Santiago looked at the full lips. As tempting an offer, Santiago decided to work on the side of caution, and he was afraid of being treated differently just because he experimented with a man once, and Jeremy sighed with frustration when he realized that the big fish had escaped his clutches. The dance competition came to an end, and Carina collapsed on the first empty seat she found, and she looked about the party, and she felt that it wasn't Halloween enough, and she looked at her cell phone with the intention of bothering Irina. Irina has a family, protested Ola. You're right, Mom, said Carina wearily. It is just that I brought my Ouija board, and I wanted Irina's help to communicate with the dead. If the dead could talk, they wouldn't need a Ouija board, said Ola. And if you want to try to communicate with them, leave me out of it. With her mother's permission, Carina went to the car to get the Ouija board, and Carina had bought that board on the first anniversary of her father's death. And as a child, she tried using it many times, and she fancied that since Irina was a real psychic, then maybe, just maybe, she would be able to hear her father's voice one last time. It wasn't enough for her to see him in her dreams or in photographs or in family videos. She wanted proof that he was still beside her holding her hand. Carina placed the Ouija board in the middle of the domino table, and there was a collective groan from all of the players. And since it was Halloween, they decided to indulge Carina on this fancy. You need 4 people to operate the Ouija board, said Carina, reading the instructions. And if you see or feel malevolent spirit, just say goodbye and flip the planchette over. Spirits born before 1910 do not know how to spell, so if we start getting gibberish, just say goodbye again. And we need to pick a leader to ask all the questions, and people to write the letters as they appear, and don't play with the big Ouija board inside your house, so you run the risk of. Move the board to the garden, said Kain, pointing to the garden. Good idea, Kain. It will be much creepier that way. You surprised me, Kain, said Malik. I didn't expect you to be the superstitious kind. We saw a ghost in Eugenia's house recently, said Kain, so I'm not taking any chances. You actually saw a ghost? Asked Carina, surprised. Unfortunately, yes, said Santiago, collaborating Kain's story. We saw it with our eyes, and there was a person in the band booth. The shade didn't show up in the camera. Maybe it was her eyes playing tricks, said Eugenia, wishing to believe that she saw nothing. Do you think a person was buried in your back garden? Suggested Santiago. Don't start with that, protested Eugenia. I have lived in the house all my life, and that was the first time anything remotely creepy happened. I read that ghosts tend to haunt certain people, said Jack, adding to the creepy factor. I think that the ghost was probably one of Siddhanta's victims, suggested Kain. It makes sense that they would come back to haunt him. Every person that Siddhanta has ever killed deserves to die, said Jeremy, defending Siddhanta. And if they didn't want to die, they shouldn't have shot first. And there's nothing wrong with killing a person that tried to kill you first. Can't argue with your logic, Jeremy, said Carina. Now let's continue setting up the game. And we have the jack-o'-lantern candles, and can you write down the letters as they come up? And who's going to ask the questions? Bruno should ask the questions. He is, after all, the family lawyer, said Rosanna. And now who's going to operate the planchette? And we should use 4 people that don't have any dead relatives, suggested Jeremy. And that way it will be impossible for them to fake the results. Good idea, said Carina. All right, we will use Balthazar, Bruno, Santiago, and Jeremy. The foreman placed their index finger on top of the planchette, and they moved in a circle till it rested in the center, and the clouds parted, and the pale moonlight fell in the center of the Ouija board. The timing of it added to the spookiness of this proceeding, and under the low candlelight the ferns seemed to be hiding all manner of eyes and shadows. It felt as if the dead were gathering around them, though in the physical world the only thing that was swarming around the ferns were the mosquitoes. "Is there any ghost among us tonight?" asked Carina. Santiago, being a bit of a troll, pushed the planchette to the word no, and since he pulled it so hard it became obvious that he was faking results. Eugenia slapped him behind the head to remind him to play along. "Apparently the spirit among us is a liar," said Bruno, "and the fact that we even got an answer shows that there is indeed a ghost among us, and a very feisty one at that. What is your name?" Bruno playing along used his strength to move more subtly to spell the word C-U-N-T. Bruno pushed the planchette over the word goodbye, and thus the pouty-mouthed ghost was dismissed. And he asked, "Let's try this again. Is there a rational ghost among us?" Bruno pushed the planchette towards the word yes. "And what is your name?" asked Bruno. Bruno and Santiago began to fight over control of the planchette, and they tried to exert as much physical strength as they could with their index finger. And the planchette ended up stopping 4 times in order to spell the message meow. "Meow," read Kain. "My stray cat recently died, and it has come back to haunt me because I wasn't able to give it a proper burial." "Are you in peace?" asked Bruno. Jeremy pulled out the planchette this time, and he made it spell out the word purr. "Ah, a purr, that's a good sign," said Kain, laughing nervously. "Animals are not people. As long as they live an easy life, they do not care what becomes of their bodies after that," said Jeremy. "I suppose that makes sense. Burial is a human thing," said Carina. Bruno pushed the planchette towards the word goodbye, and this time he asked, "Are there any human ghosts among us?" The planchette said yes. Bruno asked, "What is your name?" "Abel," said the Ouija board. Anyone lost an Abel?" asked Bruno. "Yes," said Abel to the Ouija board. "I was talking to the living," asked Bruno, giggling. "We don't know anyone named Abel," said Jack. "Maybe the ghost is using a fake name because he's paranoid," suggested Kain. "And why would a ghost be paranoid?" asked Carina, raising an eyebrow. "What more has he had to lose?" "My grandpa's ghost might be paranoid," said Kain, "and he was plenty paranoid back when he was alive. It wouldn't surprise me if he was paranoid even in death." "Are you Raphael?" asked Bruno. "No," said Abel. "Do you know Raphael?" asked Bruno. "Yes," said Abel. "Aha, the plot thickens," said Kain, pushing himself to the edge of his seat. "Is my dad in hell?" asked Jack. "I don't know," said Abel. "Are you in hell?" asked Bruno. "I don't know," said Abel. "Abel must be in the purgatory," suggested Carina. "If he was in hell, he would know. "How do you know, Raphael?" asked Bruno. "We were lovers," said Abel. "Say what?" said Jack, laughing. "Surely you jest." "We have a baby," said Abel. "Oh, that makes more sense," said Esther, sighing with relief. "Did Dad cheat on your mama?" asked Jack, on the verge of crying. "While I was pregnant, I wouldn't let him touch me. And he thought he was so sneaky, but I could always tell when he slept with another woman. And I never confronted him since he always came crawling back, and I wasn't about to destroy everything we built over a few indiscretions." "Did you feel jealous, Grandma?" asked Kain. "My mother raised me to accept the sinful fact that men would cheat on you," said Grandma Esther. So when my husband cheated on me, I felt nothing." Oh yeah, no, it wasn't my mother, my nana. "When my husband cheated on me, I felt nothing, but enough about the past. Go back into interrogating this Abel." "What is your child's name?" asked Bruno. "Keenan," said Abel. Jack whispered to Kain. "Jeremy's really killing it with his bit of not blinking." What are you talking about, Dad?" whispered Kain. "He hasn't blinked once since he touched that triangle thing," said Jack, pointing to the planchette. Jeremy's fingers began to twitch, and the jerking motions extended up the arms and down the legs. And the friends laughed, thinking that he was faking it. And when Jeremy fell sideways off his seat, it became obvious that he was having a real seizure. And Karina screamed for her mother, who went to the car to get her first aid kit. And Karina was holding onto Jeremy in her arms to help him pass the seizure. And Balthazar, fearing that Jeremy was possessed, placed the blanket over the word goodbye. And the seizure subsided soon afterwards, and Kain picked up Jeremy to take him to the guest room. And on last day went him to clean the scrapes that he had suffered during his episode. Alright, so that's the end of that chapter. Bye bye and God bless.